Welcome back, everybody. We're working on our maze game. We got our heads-up display working. We're going to add a fun little mechanic, a switch that when we throw it, it'll move a door. So we have doors open and close, and it's going to allow us to section off in this maze. As we go through the maze, we're going to put various sections here where skeletons can't get through the doors, but neither can we. So we have to throw a switch to have it unlock the door. After a set amount of time, the door is going to pop back and the switch will go back. So in order to do this, we're going to need to have multiple doors in the room. We're going to need to make sure that the door looks different as to whether we switch it or not. We're going to have one color for the doors that open and close and a different one for the one that takes us to the next room. And so what we'll do is we need a switch object, and we can call it the red door or movable door or whatever. And so it's going to involve some coding. And so let's get working on this. Step one, if you go to sprite door, let's change that to sprite doors, and we'll make two different doors. So I'm going to click on import. And we'll go to the assets, and I just want to show you there's a red door, but there's also a blue door. So we're going to open both of those, and so I have two different doors. We're going to make the blue door take us to the next room. The red door is the one we have to throw the switch. You may have seen the sprites over here. So we're going to do create sprites from images. You might have seen this. We have a red switch and a blue switch, so they actually work the doors, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the red switch so that it's sort of a hint. Oh, there's a red switch and there's a red door right near it. So we're going to add that as well. We're going to call that sprite underscore red switches. I just call it red switch. All right. Don't worry about anything else. Notice frame 0 and frame 1. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a red door object. So I'm going to create our object, and we're going to call that object red door. And we're working on trying to minimize the number of sprites where it's actually going to look blue, but we're going to switch it on create. Now, what we're going to do in this particular tutorial, we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to do all GML code. I'd like you, if you're doing drag and drop, this is a great time to learn how to start doing some GML. We already did it in the last tutorial. Let's keep that going. So on the create, watch how easy this is. On execute code, what we're going to do is we're going to set the image sprite. That's image index. I'm going to set it to 1. That's going to be the second image. And then we're going to do image speed, set that to 0. And in just 2 quick lines of code, check this out. I'm going to move the red door into, we're going to block this area right here. So I'm going to take the object red door, drop it. Now it looks blue, it's called red. That could be confusing. And we'll move down, and it's red. But I go right through it, so we got to change that. All right, but you notice it is red. It is indeed red. We're going to make it solid. And we're going to run it. I think I might have to stop the player with this collision. Let's just make sure that that works. It's always good to test. Yeah, I have to do that. So we have to add a collision with my player. So it's a collision with the red door. And when we collide with the red door, I'm going to go ahead. And I know I was get all excited about execute code, but let's just do it this way. Movement. Move. Well, you know, yeah, okay, fine. Set direction fixed, no direction, set speed, 0. There's probably a way I can just do it in code. Let's try it. Just do it in code. Why not? Execute code. Direction. Built-in variable, direction, equals 0. And then we're going to put speed. It's already built in. Equals 0. Let's see if that works. It is a solid object, so we might have to. Oh, we already have the as a collision anyway. Yep. There we go. Perfect. Probably I could have just set speed to 0 and it would still work. Let's see. Let's run it again. Yeah. Okay. Extra. Why do extra code? Wow, that's execute code one line. Why not? All right, now we got a red door. We need a red switch, and so we're going to create an object, and that will be object underscore red underscore switch, and we're going to set the sprite doors now plural. Oh, let's go back to object door here, and we do need to add an event, and that will be create, and it's the animation speed and all that good stuff, image index. So we're changing this now that there's more than one sprite, and so that, oh gosh, drives me crazy when it does all that. Okay, so that's image index equals 0. That's the blue door. And then image speed equals 0. So it stops the animation. All right, we're good there. Let's go back to our object red switch. Object red switch. All right. Okay, so now this gets fun. All right, we're going to do some serious code here, and it's going to take some explanation to kind of go through here. So we're going to start with create. We're going to execute code, and I'm going to hide this stuff here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is let's do a visualization here, first of all. Oh, I used the wrong sprite. Red switch. Okay. Let's get this in the room, and then this will help me explain what it is that we're going to do. Okay, I think it's best to see it in the context of a room. There's the door. Oh, that's the sprite. Here is the object red switch. And I'm going to throw this here, and I'm going to get this dude out of the way. And this one too, for that matter. So we have this switch over here, right? And so what the idea here is when we throw the switch, this door, we're actually going to just move it 2,000 pixels down. It's just completely off the screen. Okay. And then when we have to collide with the switch. When we collide with the switch, not only are we going to move this object down, we're going to take the switch and we're going to change the sprite so it's pointing to the other way. And we're going to have to set a timer, and we're going to then, when the timer goes off, we're going to bring the door back. But there's like these collisions and we're stopping stuff. So we need to make sure that there's not an object in its place. We also want to make sure that if the skeleton collides with the door, it switches its direction. So this is there's a lot of different things we're kind of looking at that's going to come into play here. So usually when things start to get a little complex, I create variables to sort of manage and track what's going on. So I'm going to code it and try to explain as we go. All right, so let's go back to our object red switch. And we're going to, first of all, we're going to assume, we're going to just set here that is the door, first of all, doors are clear. What doors are clear is it's a Boolean variable. We're going to say it's true that the doors are clear. There's nothing blocking the door. All right, I'll just put that as my comment. So we're going to use this as a flag to determine whether the doors are cleared or not. And it's going to make our code a little bit more readable. And I'll show you as we go. Is activated. The switch is not activated at the beginning, so that's set to false. These are Boolean variables. Okay, Boolean variable meaning it's on or off, true or false. Weird, just so you know, this is considered a variable that's set to 0, or I mean set to 1, and this is a variable that's set to 0. 0 being false, 1 being true. And that's really the essence of your computers. Let's not get into detail here. Has not been thrown, okay, or activated, right? Okay. All right, so we start with that, right? We're going to go ahead and do what we did before. We're going to stop the animation. Image speed equals 0. Image index equals 0. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create, here, let me pause. So one of the things is I want to have multiple doors and multiple switches, and each and every switch is going to sort of manage and know where all the red doors are. So we're going to create this variable called red doors. It's going to be an array, and we're going to use a for loop to create it, and let's just code it, and I'll walk you through as we go. All right, in a for loop, you create this little, what's called a local variable. It's like a throwaway variable. It's called I. I stands for indexing. Indexing is a way of identifying the location of each item in the array. And an array is just a collection. In this case, it's going to be a collection of the IDs of all the red doors that are in that room at the current time. All right, so we start by setting I to 0. In the index position of 0 is always the first item. So we're going to start at the first item. And we're going to loop through all of the red doors and adding them to this variable called red doors. So we're going to put I equals, and now we need to get the number of red doors. And so actually before I do that, I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to put number red doors. A little bit long. Now we can do a function here to get that. And it's called instance number. Instance number. And in here we put in the object. It's the object red door. Now, I had a student that had all kinds of issues with this mechanic, and it was because he forgot to put the red doors in the room. So it's kind of important that you at least have one in there. More than one is going to be ideal, so don't forget that, please. And then we're going to put I, and so what we're going to do is we're going to loop for the number of red doors there are. And so we put this for var I equals 0, I is less than, and it's the number of red doors. And then it's I plus plus, which means add 1 to I in every loop. And we're going to put our brackets here, do this here. And now we're going to write this red underscore doors. That's the variable. Create a bracket, the letter I, all right, equals, all right. So let's pause here and just kind of explain this. This is the variable red doors. And when you have an array, because you have more than one red door, use this bracket here to determine which door are we talking about. And the I, it starts at 0. And in an array, 0 is the first item. The number of red doors is like the number that there are. And we have to loop until we get to the number of red doors, and then we're done looping. So this I will allow us to insert these. And I'm going to show you this in a moment, what this looks like. It's pretty cool. We're going to use this other one called instance find. And instance find, you give it an object, and you give it this thing called a number, or n, I think is what they do. And we're going to do object red door, comma, I. And what this will do is it will find an object. It'll just do one at a time and find them all. Now, I want to show you how this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on here, and I'm going to do this thing called toggle breakpoint, because I want you to see how this for loop works. Okay, so I right-click, toggle breakpoint. Now, let's go to the room and let's add switches and doors. Okay, so we have one switch, one door. And then I would also put some blocks in. So let's do that. We want to make sure that the sprite's not going to kind of like, well, we'll just do it anyway. I'm going to drag this out here. I'm going to put a block here and a door up here. And it's a red door. So I have a red door there. And so we're going to like block off certain sections. We're going to another block over here, object wall. And I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to have an object door, no, wrong one, object red door over here. Now I've got several in the room. I want to, yeah, I think this could be good. Maybe we'll do another one right here. And so I'll grab another one here and another object red door. And then we'll grab another object red switch down here. All right, so you got some switches, whatever. Any one switch will move all of the object red doors. Okay, so I wanted to put a couple doors nearby so you can see where they are. All right, so we got multiple red doors. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So keep that in mind. And then on our object red switch, remember we're going to loop through here. And I set the breakpoint. Now, what is a breakpoint? It allows you to basically start running the program in debug mode. And as soon as it gets to the part where it's starting to run this code, it will stop the program and you can take a look at what's going on. So I'm going to hit the debugger. You can also type F6. That will open it up. It's standard along with a lot of programming tools here. And now notice what happened. We see this doors are cleared equals true. Okay. Now, I could get my game over here, but it's pretty much boring, right? It's all white. So what happens, just so you know, it's actually going to run through all the code, and then it's going to draw the screen when we're done. So I'm going to move that off to the side. You don't need to see that. All right, so we're stopped here on line 7. And then we're going to go over to breakpoints. You can see there it is, object red switch, create line 7. No compile errors, no syntax errors, variables, self, other, instance of red switch. So I'm going to click plus on here. And now we're going to start stepping through this one at a time. We're going to do a step into function call. So F11, I'm just going to type the F11 key. And doors are clear. Now, look, doors are clear equals 1. I told you that true is the same as 1. So I'm going to do F11 again. And now is activated is 0, false, right? Image speed, F11. All right, image index. Now, notice these two variables are purple and these are green. Purple means these are variables that you created, that you defined. They're not built in. The green ones are built-in variables. So if I click on here, I can find image speed somewhere in here. Image index. There it is, set to 0. I already did that. Image speed, set to 0. All right, set both those to 0. You can see them in there. See that? Pretty cool, huh? That's right. You can see all the variables that are involved. Now, number of red doors equals instance number. We're going to type F11 again, and wha-bam, there are 4 red doors. And now we're going to loop. For I equals 0. Now, I told you we have purple variables, we have green variables, we also have yellow variables. These are considered local variables. Local variables are, remember what I told you, throwaway variables. I does not yet exist. When we start the loop, I will exist. When we're done with the loop on line 18, I will cease to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do F11 again. All right, notice I equals 0. Red doors I equals instance fine. I'm going to do F11. Bam. Now, check it out. There's I. Remember throwaway? Local variable. There it is. I is 0. Number of red doors is 4. Right? Now, this is one that I defined. Red doors. Wha-bam. In index position 0, we have this number 1, 0, 0, 3, 2, 6. Let's see our red doors. 108. Oh, maybe. I don't know. It's one of these. Okay, so apparently they have a different number there. Whatever. If we're going to look at our object under instances, name. Oh, there it is. Notice it starts with the 100. And remember, we are over here, 100326. So that's the ID of the instances, 326. So this door right here is red door 0. Red door 0 is this particular object red door. Loop again, red doors I. Now we have 3, 2, 9. So basically, I believe what's happening here is the 0, 1 actually just goes through all instances until it sees the object, and then it attaches the ID over here. And we're going to loop through here multiple times. Now, where did that I go? That was under variables. There's I down here. Remember I was telling you. Now, we're looping as long as I is less than the number of red doors. Now, I is still 3. And you'll notice you have a 0, 1, 2, 3. How many doors is that? When we count 0, that's 4. 4 doors. Now, we don't want to add another door because there are no other doors. That's why it's a less than number of red doors, not a less than or equal to. Oh, yeah. This is programming. Bam. Done. Now, for loop. Loop again. We're out of there, right? And so now I have to go back to instances. And we need to find the object red switch. And maybe this is the one we're looking at. Or maybe this is the one we're looking at. And that is the one we're looking at. So notice we're going to have to do that for all of our red switches. But notice we have built-in variables. There's number of red doors. There are our red doors. They're all stored. Now this information is going to be available throughout the coding here. Now we're getting close to 20 minutes, right? There's a lot of serious code going on. That's your debugger. Pretty awesome if you ask me. Still can't see this. We won't until we've run through all of the create code of all of our objects. I don't have time for that. Oh, maybe I do. Okay, apparently we're going. All right, there's that. I'm going to stop that. I'm actually going to stop it up here. We're done debugging. Okay, so on the next step, let's do the collision with the player that throws the switch. And we're going to keep doing execute code. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this event. I'm going to click duplicate so that I get the execute code without having to actually pull it out. And it's going to be a collision with the object player. And I'm just going to blow this out. Bam, it's gone. All right, so the idea here is if we collide with the player, we want to basically set the image index to 1. That throws the switch. Now we've got to remember when you collide, as long as you're colliding with it, it'll continue running code. So what we want to do is we want to basically only do the following stuff if it's set to clear. Now if the switch has already been activated, we don't need to run this code again. So we're going to start with this if is activated is equal to false. So if it is not activated, we're going to do the following code. So this is like the one and done. When you collide with it one time, it will do a bunch of stuff. What it's going to do is it's going to play a sound effect. We're going to set is activated to false. And then we're going to move all red doors. And then we're going to set an alarm to go off and move doors back. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now, we don't have our sound effect, so we're going to have to go get it. So let's go ahead and find the sound effect. We're going to code this out, test it, and we're going to work it. Now, there is a sound. It's already part of your assets. We're going to go to create sound, and we're going to name it in here, sound doors. All right, and we're going to click on here to add it, and it's stone drag 1. That's the sound it's going to make. We don't want it looping, and so we're going to have to make sure we don't loop it when we play it. All right, that's our sound. I'm done. That's all I had to do. Just load it. We're good. All right, let's go back to our object red switch, and like I said, play sound effect. Okay, guess what it is? Play audio, play sound. Okay, there are 3 arguments. What is the sound ID? And that is sound doors. There's 1. Priority. Now, priority is just like how important is the sound effect? If there are 2 sounds being played, is this more important than the other? Should it play over the other one or not? We're just going to give it a value of 50. It's an arbitrary number. You just give it a number, and that's a ranking. So I'm in my head thinking between 1 and 100, 50, halfway there, whatever. Okay, 50, and the last one is loops. We're going to put in here false because it does not loop. We don't want it to loop. We're going to set as activated to false. That's so that we don't keep playing the sound effect. Now let's just go ahead and run this so you can see what I mean by this. So as long as I'm colliding, it's going to keep playing the sound. So here we go. And we can't have that. Now, if we want to have, and if we want to have a game mechanic where we're actually like honing something, then maybe we would do that. So the only way to stop that is by setting is activated to true so it won't keep playing the sound. It has now been activated. It is currently active. So we're going to save our changes. Let's run it. Now we should only hear it once. Notice I'm still colliding. Perfect. Awesome. I'm going to move all the red doors. Now, to move all the red doors, we're going to target just any instance of an object red door. So we're just going to write down object underscore red door. All right. Now we want to move them down. So we're going to put a .y. I'm going to put a plus equals, means it's going to be equal to itself plus the following number, 2000. And then we're going to set an alarm to go off. And you'll love this function. It's alarm set. Index, what number? We'll give it an alarm 0. How many frames? I'm going to set it to 150. Right now, the alarm set is not going to actually do anything just yet, but we're going to go ahead and set it anyway. Let's run it now and see if the door goes away when we collide with it. Doors are gone. Now, it set the alarm. Nothing else is happening. Okay, so that's about it. So that's alarm set. What we're going to do is in my next tutorial, I'll bring the doors back when the alarm goes off, but only if things are not blocking. Another thing we need to do on that video tutorial is make sure that our skeletons don't go through the doors. That'll make it more interesting. It'll be a little bit more fun. We might end up trapping a skeleton in the room, and then how do we get out of there? Or we may be able to time it just right to block them and keep them out, right? So this could be fun. We can have a lot of switches throughout and play with it. Stay tuned for my next tutorial, part 2 of our object red switch. So thank you so much for watching.